Have you ever looked into an animal's eyes and felt like, somehow, you'd met before? As if that encounter wasn't just a fleeting coincidence, but a reunion spanning millennia? This subtle yet profound sense of immediate recognition goes far beyond simple affinity or the love we feel for our four-legged companions. It's as if an invisible thread exists between you and that being, woven through the ages, connecting two souls that have shared journeys and stories inconceivable to the common mind. This connection, mysterious and full of meaning, invites you to delve into something much bigger, the spiritual and eternal reality of the bonds that unite humans and animals. Now, I want you to pause for a moment and reflect with me. How many animals have passed through your life, leaving indelible marks on your soul? How many times in front of them have you felt an inexplicable calm, a silent comfort that seemed to answer questions you didn't even know you had? It's in this space between the visible and the invisible that this story resides. This meditation will do together today. And if you've had this experience or are even curious about the topic, leave your like now, share this video with whoever you believe needs to hear this message, and subscribe so you don't miss the next deep reflections we've prepared for you. Let's start our journey. Since time immemorial, ancient cultures already recognized the sacred connection between human and animal souls. In ancient Egypt, for example, animals were revered as guardians of the spiritual world, inseparable companions of the gods and messengers of the afterlife. In spiritual healing traditions, like those of Edgar Cayce, one of the most respected figures in modern spirituality, there are reports indicating that animals not only accompany us, but also reincarnate in cycles parallel to ours, walking side by side in the process of consciousness evolution. They are not mere animals. They are soul companions, partners in destiny and transformation. These souls reincarnated together are motivated by a common purpose. Imagine that everything we experience, all suffering and joy, all learning, is not just a coincidence in the vast ocean of existence, but part of a larger plan to grow, heal, and find fullness. The spiritual connection between humans and animals is a silent pact that transcends ordinary life. The true essence of this bond surpasses the barriers of time and space. It's fascinating to contemplate that our deepest connections have roots in ancestral agreements, in bonds drawn even before our physical birth. Often we feel that these encounters are by chance, but in reality, they are marked by soul contracts, sealed on higher planes, where our essence chooses who will be by our side for the challenges and lessons of this journey. These spiritual contracts ensure that no one is left to the mercy of chance, and that each soul has its perfect companions for mutual growth on the evolutionary path. Have you ever stopped to think that these bonds go beyond simple coexistence? That there's a kind of spiritual family, an invisible network that unites not only people but also our animal friends? These soul families are groups of spiritual beings who choose to stay together, to go through different incarnations, teaching and learning from each other, supporting each other in the most difficult moments, and celebrating victories with a depth that words cannot reach. This idea, both magical and rich in meaning, brings us a revealing certainty. Nothing in our life happens by chance. Every encounter, every look, every touch carries the weight of something ancient and sacred. Do you feel this connection? When your eyes met theirs, you noticed what lies beyond the physical, that there is a silent dialogue between your souls. But what makes this possible? This is where the energetic signature comes in, that unique vibrational frequency that belongs to our soul and resonates especially strong when it recognizes a kindred soul. Just as a musical note finds its chord, our energies find those of the animals chosen to walk with us. That's why, often, when meeting a new animal, we feel something immediate, an inexplicable warmth in our chest, an instinctive security, an empathy that seems to cut through words and directly touch the essence of the being. This feeling isn't mere imagination. It's concrete proof that our souls converse on levels that the common mind hasn't yet reached. Have you ever noticed this when, after a long day, the simple contact with your animal companion seems to dissolve all anxiety and fatigue? It's this energetic synchronicity, this delicate dance of frequencies that creates a field of mutual protection, care, and learning. Our animal friends have the incredible ability to tune into our energy, amplifying the best in us and helping us face our own emotional and spiritual challenges. More than just present in our daily lives, animals can be true spiritual masters. In many shamanic traditions around the world, they are seen as powerful guides, beings who not only accompany us, but who teach us to live with more awareness, to respect the cycles of nature, and to awaken the inner wisdom that lies dormant. From the solitary wolf that reminds us of the strength of unity and loyalty, to the silent owl that invites us to introspection and deep vision, each animal offers an archetype that resonates in our psyche. This master-apprentice relationship isn't one-sided. Animals are our silent guardians, present in a discreet but impactful way, according to the archetypal narrative that finds an echo within the soul. They awaken in us ancestral feelings of security, belonging, and respect for the mystery of life. And this intimacy doesn't only happen in the physical world. Many people report experiences that go beyond simple touch, accounts of encounters with their animals in dreams, visions, and moments of deep meditation. Have you ever dreamed of an animal that was no longer physically by your side, or felt their presence in silent moments, as if an invisible bridge connected dimensions? These dream experiences are not mere coincidences. They reveal a communication that transcends time and space, a subtle interdimensional message that confirms the deep bond that exists between you and your spiritual companion. In these encounters, the animal can bring comfort, guidance, or simply reaffirm their unconditional presence on your path. Imagine, then, how painful this bond is when we try to say goodbye. The loss of a beloved animal touches something much deeper than physical absence. It breaks an invisible cord that kept two souls connected in their mutual role of growth and healing. This spiritual pain is not something to be minimized. It has a logical explanation within the dynamics of the soul. The cord that unites our spirit to the animal's soul may seem broken, but in reality it's just in transition. Understanding this brings relief and blessing, for it allows us to accept that, even in separation, this connection continues. Strengthened by karmic contracts that determine the right moments for reunion and for the journey to continue. The pain we feel is proof of the unconditional love that our soul companions offer us, a love that never dies, that escapes the limitations of time and space. This journey of presence and loss, of meeting and saying goodbye, is more than a tale of crossed lives. It's a mirror of the mutual spiritual evolution we share with animals. They not only reflect forgotten parts of our soul, but also help us heal old wounds, traumas we sometimes didn't even know existed. In many cases, our animal friends are extensions of our own essence, as if they were fragments of the oversoul, the larger soul of which we are all parts. This idea resonates deeply with spiritual psychology, which sees in the other not a stranger, but a reflection of what we carry within us. The closer we get to these animal souls, the more we are invited to look within, to recognize our own shadows and lights, to expand our consciousness beyond the ego and the limitations of the physical body. They remind us that the journey is not solitary, that there is always a faithful companion, a silent master by our side. As you absorb these truths, you feel what I feel, the subtle yet powerful magic of the eternal bonds that unite humans and animals, an invisible tapestry that transcends the cycles of life, made of love, learning, and transformation. How about sharing in the comments that story where your animal companion seemed to be more than just a friend? Who left a spiritual legacy within you, awakening reflections that go beyond the everyday? I invite you to be part of this community of awakened souls, where together we can honor these sacred bonds and grow in consciousness. If you're feeling the call to broaden your vision, to dive deeper into this unique connection between the spiritual and physical worlds, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. This way, our journey can continue strong, uniting more and more hearts and minds in search of life's deepest meaning. Let's continue, because there's still much to uncover. In our daily rush, we often forget that we are not alone, at no time. Behind routines and responsibilities, there's an invisible world that watches over us, guides us, and often silently protects us. In this hidden world are those who never needed to speak to say everything. They just look, accompany, feel. And they, our animals, are the noblest and most silent spiritual masters an evolving soul can find. Many mistakenly believe that animals are below in the spiritual hierarchy, but this idea comes from a limited view, caged by the rational mind. In countless ancestral traditions, animals hold a prominent place in the spiritual journey. For shamanic peoples, each animal represents a guardian spirit, an archetype that teaches us something sacred. The wolf teaches belonging and courage, the cat, sensitivity to invisible energy, the dog, unconditional loyalty, the eagle transcends, guiding human eyes to the sky of the soul. And make no mistake, it's not just wild animals that fulfill this function. Those who sleep at our feet, who follow us around the house, who patiently wait on the doormat, they are also guides. Every gesture, every breath, every behavior of theirs carries a teaching. Sometimes it's the lesson of patience, other times it's love beyond words. And there are moments, rare and precious, when we realize that being, whom we affectionately call a pet, is guiding us in a spiritual direction, without us even asking for it. Have you noticed that they know us better than any human? They sense our sadness even before the first tears fall. They avert their gaze when we're not ready to face the truth. And sometimes they simply lie next to us, and with their silent presence, heal what we don't even know needs healing. This is the nature of a true master, silent, present, loving. The animals who walk with us are there to perform the most sacred of roles, the role of teaching us, without us realizing we are learning. But how to explain that presence in dreams, that sudden appearance of an animal before an important moment in life? How to understand this bridge that seems to connect two dimensions? That's what we'll talk about now. Close your eyes for a moment, breathe deeply, and try to remember a dream, one that stood out. Perhaps in it, you reunited with a dog who had already passed on, or an unknown cat who stared at you with deeply familiar eyes. Perhaps you saw a bird or a wolf, or even heard a voice that wasn't human but spoke directly to your soul. Dreams are more than nocturnal images caused by a tired brain. They are portals, maps, messages from the unconscious, and sometimes from the superconscious. Through dreams, many souls communicate between worlds, and animals are masters at crossing this veil with ease. There are many spiritual accounts of people who, just before adopting a dog or cat, dreamed of them. They saw their eyes, they felt their presence, and when that being finally appeared in real life, the certainty was immediate. I've seen you before. And the recognition was mutual. Other dreams are of farewell. Animals who have passed on return during sleep, not just to pay a visit, but to teach that separation doesn't exist where true love reigns. In these visits, there's an exchange of glances, subtle touches, vibrational harmonies. These aren't creations of the mind. They are encounters between dimensions, facilitated by the spiritual connection that remains alive, even when the physical body no longer inhabits this plane. And it's not just dreams. Some of us feel the presence of our animals upon waking, the sound of paws that aren't there, a familiar sigh, the distinct feeling of companionship. These signs are subtle but intensely real. They are saying, I'm still here, now in another form, but the love remains whole. It's important to remember that animals are not bound by the linear logic of time. Their spirits can move with a freedom that escapes us. They may be alive on another plane, reincarnating, or simply resting in their energetic essence, but still connected to us, still hearing us, still loving us. Have you ever asked yourself, what if that animal who unexpectedly appeared in my path was sent from above to deliver a message, to rescue me from pain? Would it really be a coincidence, or would it be an answer? When we open ourselves to listen, not with our ears, but with our soul, we begin to understand that these encounters don't happen on the surface. They are deep calls for a reunion of souls, for the continuity of sacred learning. And when this bond is broken, what we feel is more than longing. It's soul pain. There's no deeper pain than losing a being who loved you without judgment. A being who waited for you every day at the door, who felt your sadness even before you admitted you were down, and who never asked for anything but your presence. The loss of a beloved animal isn't just grief for physical absence. It's a vibrational rupture, a sudden cut in the emotional, energetic, and spiritual field. And that's why sometimes the pain doesn't go away, even as time passes, because the soul knows this bond was eternal. This link isn't limited to matter. This is where we need to look more deeply at the karmic threads that unite you and your animal companion. According to many spiritual traditions, encounters with our animals are predestined. They assume karmic responsibilities alongside us, as healers, companions, protectors of parts of us that were broken and forgotten. And when this contract comes to an end, whether due to lifespan or mission accomplished, the separation is felt as a spiritual shock. The soul recognizes that something great has ended. But is it really an end? In reality, these contracts don't end. They just transform. In some cases, the animal returns in another form, another body, perhaps another species, but with the same energetic signature. And you feel it. It's them, you say internally, unable to explain. Other times, the bond remains on another plane, like an invisible guardian, a being who now walks with you in the shadows of intuition, sending signs, synchronicities, dreams, and presence. That's why you have the right to feel longing, to cry, to suffer this loss as if it were a child, a sibling, or even a piece of your soul. Because perhaps it was, and here also lies the comfort. Because no connection made on the basis of unconditional love is lost in the universe. It is recycled in spiritual laws. It returns. It reintegrates. It gains new form, new function. Losing a beloved animal is indeed painful, but it can also be the beginning of a new phase on your spiritual path, a phase of openness, of listening, of expanding your perception to a plane where they continue to live, in energy, in memory, in the soul. So if today you feel this pain, know that it's not weakness, it's love transforming, it's absence shouting but saying thank you for a mission accomplished. The one you lost isn't gone, they just changed planes, and in some future, maybe even soon, their soul will touch yours again. And you'll recognize them, because what is real is never lost. If this resonated with you so far, leave your comment, tell your story, honor your companion with words. This community is made to welcome souls like yours, who feel deeply, who love eternally, and who recognize that there's something much bigger behind every animal's gaze. And don't forget, like this video, share it with someone you love and know would understand every word. Together we will sustain this vibration. We will create a safe space where we honor the masters who came with fur, feathers, and paws, but with the purest heart we've ever felt. Ready to go deeper? Soon we'll dive even further into the mystery with the last 3 chapters of this journey. See you there. The soul recognizes its masters, even if they come with 4 paws, wings, or eyes that silently observe us. Few people realize it, but animals don't just enter our lives to keep us company. They are often living mirrors of our soul, delicate reflections of our hidden emotions, of wounds we don't verbalize, of parts of ourselves we forget to notice. They don't just accompany us on the journey of existence, they transform us. Imagine a dog who enters the life of someone emotionally closed off and slowly breaks down walls with patience and love. Or an independent cat who appears in the life of someone excessively attached, teaching the value of freedom and love without control. It's no coincidence. There's wisdom behind these encounters, a hidden intelligence coordinating every movement. Animals teach us not only with their behaviors, but with their energy, with their presence. In many cases, these enlightened beings are placed on our path to activate specific healings, family traumas, ancestral pains, emotional patterns that the soul came to work on in this life. And most impressively, they do it without saying a word, just by being. They receive our most toxic emotions and don't judge us. They absorb the dense energies of the house. They lie beside our pain and transmit silent healing, which acts beyond the conscious level. Have you ever noticed that some animals get sick when you're emotionally unwell? As if they were living shields, absorbing everything that needs to be purified? This isn't a metaphor. It's a profound form of karmic exchange, where they, with their pure nature, help us transmute what we alone couldn't recognize, much less heal. There are also those exceptional beings whose connection with us transcends the master-student bond. They are, in fact, fragments of our own soul. Some esoteric currents support the thesis that the same soul, or oversoul, can unfold into various simultaneous experiences. In other words, part of you may also be living through that animal. This explains the inexplicable empathy, the silent understanding, the irreversible symbiosis. When we begin to see these bonds as part of a process of mutual healing, our relationship with animals changes completely. We stop seeing them as emotional dependents and begin to honor them as companions in evolution. They help us climb the mountain, but they are also climbing with us. Because in the end, growth is always reciprocal. Next time you're in front of your animal, don't just ask yourself, what do they need from me? Also ask, what did they come to show me about myself? This look transforms, redefines, heals. And by understanding this, we open ourselves to dive into the oldest wisdoms of the earth, those that ancient peoples knew, but that modern humanity has forgotten. And it begins like this. From the first spiritual records of humanity, animals have been present in the most sacred moments. They were not seen as inferior. They were revered, honored, respected as ambassadors of the divine. They accompanied kings, shamans, priests. They guarded temples. They protected cities and souls. In ancient Egypt, cats were considered portals between worlds. They are said to have protected homes from negative energies and warded off dangerous spiritual influences. The goddess Bastet, for example, represented the union between affection and power, using the feline form as a channel to express both worlds, the earthly and the spiritual. In the indigenous shamanic traditions of North America, each person has a power animal, a spiritual guide who accompanies their soul, teaches fundamental lessons, and crosses planes with the purpose of protection and healing. It's not uncommon for these guides to also manifest on the physical plane, appearing during moments of spiritual turning points, need, or deep pain. In Asia, Tibetan Buddhism documents stories of tulpas, thought forms so intense that they become living manifestations. Some masters claim that certain pets are, in fact, tulpas of the human soul itself, conscious expressions of an unbreakable link between spirit and matter. In the Hindu Vedas, they speak of vahanas, or divine mounts of the gods, such as Ganesha and his rat, Durga with her lion, Vishnu with his bird Garuda. These beings are not simple divine transport. They represent spiritual qualities that complete the divine archetype, demonstrating that man and animal cohabit the same spiritual field, sharing attributes, energy, and mission. In regions of the Andes, camelids like llamas and alpacas participate in spiritual rituals, as they are considered transmitters of messages between the people and the apis, the mountain spirits. In African cultures, the lion is, at the same time, an ancestral symbol and a spirit guide present in stories and oral traditions that connect the people to the cosmos. These multiple cultures, so different from each other, reinforce the same spiritual value. Animals are an integral part of the soul's evolutionary journey. They are not here just to exist. They are here to teach, to love, to mirror, and to remember. Remember that the essence of life lies in mutual respect, spiritual connection, and the joint journey through the unknown. Realizing this invites us to reverse centuries of forgetting, of intuitive distancing, and more than that, it invites us to return home, because reconnecting with animals is, in a way, reconnecting with our deepest self. And now that you know there's ancient wisdom that validates this inexplicable love, the question remains, how many times have you felt something, but couldn't explain it? Well, it's time to accept. You always knew. And with that, we can now open ourselves to the last and most important point of this journey, the communion between awakened souls. If you've made it this far, take a deep breath. You've listened, felt, recognized. Embracing this call isn't for everyone. It's a courageous step because once awakened, you won't see the world the same way again. Now, when you look into an animal's eyes, you might realize that there's a story between you that goes way back before now. Perhaps you feel that this bond is not of this time, it's eternal, and that every gesture of affection, of care, of love is also a sacred ritual between souls on a journey. You are not alone. Thousands of people around the world feel this same vibration, this same subtle but undeniable call. We are a spiritual family, one, that connects people, animals, guides, and spirits in the same field of elevated love. That's why I invite you, from heart to heart, to comment below. What was the deepest spiritual experience you had with an animal? What animal soul transformed you? What lesson stayed with you? By sharing your story, you help other hearts recognize the divine in the simple. You will be a mirror of the wisdom you also received. And so, our community grows, a community of sensitive, awakened souls deeply connected to what is eternal. If you haven't already, subscribe, like this video, send it to someone you love and know would understand every word. Together, we will sustain this vibration. We will create a safe space where we honor the masters who came with fur, feathers, and paws, but with the purest heart we've ever felt. They showed us what unconditional love is. Now it's our turn to give back, with awareness, gratitude, and unity. Gratitude for walking this far. Subscribe to the channel and leave your like to access more stories like this. See you in the next encounter, where souls continue to recognize each other, evolve, and remember that life, deep down, is made of sacred reunions.